Hello, my name is Joanna Julian. At Core Connectivity, we believe in the power of the individual. Therefore, we recognize that the spirit of power and love in every human being must be defended one heart and mind at a time. So we advocate for this truth by educating people about the simple steps to create a more peaceful version of family by honoring their chosen faith as empowerment. This was my response to the power crisis mobile connectivity introduced to the parent-child relationship. In addition to the benefits of more efficient communication and personalized learning, mobile connectivity also brings the world in closer and exposes youth to adult issues at earlier ages. When it is possible to believe that everything you need to know you can simply Google and conceal, imparting wisdom is more challenging than ever. So the 3 areas of concern parents must be prepared to address with children in mobile connectivity include bullying, addiction, and exploitation. Communicating the benefits or virtues to the cyber-powered child. Internet connectivity can make gossip, bullying, and sexually exploitive pictures seem so normal for the modern child. This particular internet hype appeals to the smaller self that seeks control and attention in worldly terms. Think about people posting pictures to appear more successful, prettier, and richer than others. Think about gossip and bullying that goes viral, or sexting in order to please a love interest. The temptation to respond impulsively is so strong. So, when we consider virtue as simply expressing the dignity and power of the human spirit connected to the divinity within, it becomes a choice to be a positive influence in the world in all circumstances, as Romans 12:2 tells us. For the internet-savvy child, this choice can be translated as taking command of your own life by aspiring to become the person God designed you to be, and thereby overcoming the manipulations of others with a merciful heart. Virtue is moral excellence, goodness, righteousness. A virtue is a habitual and firm disposition to do the good. It is finding the balance, the mean, between 2 extremes. It allows the person not only to perform good acts, but to give the best of himself. The virtuous person tends toward the good with all of his sensory and spiritual powers. He pursues the good and chooses it in concrete actions. The goal of a virtuous life is to become like God, and the source of that definition is from the Vatican Archive. Smarty Pants syndrome versus self-governing. No child wants to be duped. They instinctively want to be in command of their own life journey, and the virtue of our faith helps us to govern our own hearts and minds in order to do just that. And yet, in a cyber-powered world, it is easy to believe that everything you need to know about governing your own life, you can simply Google. That is why many parents will be confronted with a Smarty Pants syndrome when children believe they know it all, or even more concerning, they actually know too much for their own good. Think graphic images of violence or gratuitous sex, suicide, drug and alcohol abuse, etc. So we can explain self-governance as recognizing that no human knows it all, and that knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. Wisdom is knowledge from the heart of God, Proverbs 1:7 tells us, and it is applied in ways that are appropriate for the individual and promotes personal security. Wisdom is derived from life experience, which parents help impart to the willing heart, while being a smarty pants, on the other hand, leaves you vulnerable to having knowledge without understanding, which can be very harmful. Understanding the practical value of virtue helps children focus on their own relationship with the Lord and respond with confidence to the things that disturb the peace in their cyber-social realms, such as gossip and bullying. Prudence. Prudence is knowing how to use the gifts we are given. Girls may dress and present themselves in social media with less modesty because they believe that it is their value, but their value is in their relationships with God, family, and in the community. And the same is true for technology. When we do not have a balanced and correct perception of where the value is in using it, it can become abused and not serve the purpose for which it was intended and cause harm. Chastity. Chastity is not just about sex. It is about a respect for who we are as people. It is the ability to recognize that we are more than what you see on the outside. Father Matthew Spencer of St. Joseph Morello Catholic Church told me that the problem with porn is not that it shows too much. It is that it does not show enough of the actual person. When our children realize that their body is the sacrament of who you are as a whole person, including the divinity within, perhaps they can begin to accept chastity as how we express our authenticity as magnificent sons and daughters. Humility. Humility is the foundation of all virtue that helps us receive the wisdom to overcome the manipulations of others. No child wants to be duped or misled, and they get a lot of fear and fakery in the social network. In this regard, humility is not thinking less of yourself, rather it is not thinking of yourself at all. Humility makes it possible to tame the smaller self, that part of us that wants worldly control, so that you can receive the wisdom from the heart of God. Virtues conversation tips for parents. Honest conversations about the practical value of virtues are worth considering as empowerment. Cyber-powered youth need to understand their own power through embracing wisdom in their own relationship with the Lord, which builds individual resiliency from the intense emotion stirred in the social network. Here are some tips. First, prepare yourself. Think about your own experience as a child and the role of virtues in your own life. Did virtue matter for you? Why? Or why not? Think about when you knew too much for your own good. When did what you know invoke shame? Did you talk about it with anyone? Were you able to have a conversation with your parents? It helps to be clear that the conversation with your child is not about you. It is about the child learning how to take command over their own life, and you are the primary teacher. You may draw upon your own experience, but do not allow the conversation to digress into your adolescence and childhood. The idea here is to encourage your child to seek conversations with you about how to apply virtues in their life so you can encourage them to seek wisdom, as James 1:5 tells us. The wisdom that comes from the Lord, and then impart your own wisdom. Pray. And finally, consider a conversation about virtues as one of the strategies you and your child deploy to overcome the world. It helps to get your child thinking of virtue as a way to retain power, to not surrender all of the grace and wisdom God intends for you. It is not meant to be a way to be superior to other people. Rather, it is a measure, a personal standard between you and the Lord. You can find more support and information at coreconnectivity.org.